Welcome on board a very unusual boat down at Seaworks in Southampton. This is the Ultimate Boats 11 and we are lucky enough to be having a quick spin out in it, not only with myself but also the designer John Moxham back there. Hello John. And Colin, who's going to give us a little bit of a demonstration of what this boat is capable of. Now there are two really unusual things about this boat. The first of all is the hydraulic lift hull, which is a unique design by John back there, and that uses special spray rails that capture the water and feed it under the hull to create extra lift and extra grip. So we're very interested to see how well that performs. It's also the first boat built out of a new sustainable form of composite known as Danu. So it looks and feels at the moment very similar to a standard GRP boat, but it is fully sustainable. They can't release full details of that because it's still waiting for a patent at the moment. But in the meantime, we can at least get to experience the boat. It's quite hot in here. I think one of the first things they're going to do is change some of these fixed windows to make some sliding windows for ventilation. And the finishing is a little bit basic, this being the first boat, but I'm sure that will improve on time. Now we're starting to pick up speed. We're doing 30 knots already. Being a police boat, it is quite functional. We've got walk-around decks on both sides and a fully enclosed wheelhouse because it's going to be used at all different states and sea conditions. There you can see it's all about visibility and year-round use. Lots of grab rails down either side. We're doing 30 knots already. Got to say, it feels very solid at the moment and a very flat ride. You hear those engines howling away out the back now. And now we're up to 44 knots and we're just going to do a turn to starboard at 44 knots. And my goodness, that is absolutely hammering round. No slip at all. Still pulling 34 knots, hasn't lost much speed at all. And it's getting tighter and tighter. That was a very tight turn, but what you really notice is just how little slip there is. Absolutely grips and grips. See what it looks like going around this way. There we go again. Wow! I'm struggling to hold up. Something. Okay, that is interesting.
It's unusual, isn't it?
That is quite unusual.
So one thing you'll notice when I come off the plane, how little wake we have coming over the transom.
Sure.
I'll bring it up and then I'll bring it to neutral and you'll see it's just
right.
There's nothing coming over the back at all.
Okay.
Good?
Yep. And that's a full-on stop. And even though I'm being thrown forward, there's no sign of any backwash coming over the transom. Not at all. Impressive. So John Moxham, you're the designer of this boat. Can you tell me a little bit about what makes the hull different and why it performs as it does?
Yes, it uses the wash that's normally thrown aside to give hydraulic lift at the back of the boat. This also produces a very level ride through the water with no angle of attack that you normally have to have on a planing craft. This has got lots of advantages.
So it rides flatter because of the shape of the spray rails, or how is
it rides flatter because there is a great deal of hydraulic lift around the cockpit area and where the engine is.
So right at the stern.
Yes.
It's lifting the stern keeps the bow down and gives it a flatter ride.
That's right. Basically, all the water that's normally thrown aside, we compress it. On this hull, you've got the water that you normally find on any hull you know, planing, lifting the boat. But in the small space on our hull, they're vying to get through this narrow space, and that is what's thrown aside by the hull on a normal boat. I mean, that's tons of water every time a boat goes forward.
So why does that make it so grippy through the turns?
The grippy through the turn is a byproduct. This was to make the boat travel level through the water and not need the angle of attack. Now, as a byproduct, in stopping this water, the shape of the hull also gives it incredible turning ability. It won't slip sideways. It has a tremendous grip of the water.
But it's still a deep V hull, is that correct?
Oh, very much so. 25 degrees at the back.
So 25 degrees at the transom, that is properly deep.
That's right.
And what does the hull weigh, do you know?
It's about 4 tons, isn't it, Colin?
Yeah, 4.5 tons.
So it's about 4.5 tons for an 11 metre boat.
That's right.
And this new Danu material doesn't affect that unduly either way.
No, it doesn't.
Right. Are you sitting down, John? All okay? So we trim down at the moment?
Yeah, just keep, I've just
and leave it trimmed down?
Yeah, you can just leave it. Doesn't need any trim.
Doesn't do a whole lot.
And you're right, there's very little bow lift at all.
The head back, not that speed.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do a gentle turn at first, just to get the hang of it, or relatively gentle. And you can immediately feel the lateral G-force building up there. But that was a relatively gentle one at 36 knots. But now let's just go, so we can go flat out and full turn.
Yep.
Right, I believe you. Let's go for it to port. My goodness. That is quite something. It does lose a little bit of speed, but it absolutely grips and grips. Let's just go over our own wake. Very little bounce, no slam at all. Let's go back to starboard. Wow! 37 knots. Over a wake. Not a problem. Let's just go over our own wake again, flat out. No slamming at all. That is quite something, and let's take it at an angle. That too, no problem. Just easing off as a boat coming. We've got time for one more port turn. Straight round. Wow, that is something. Okay, that is seriously impressive, I've got to admit. It just grips and grips. It does begin to lose a little bit of speed in corner, as you always will if you really throw it in, but it absolutely grips relentlessly. There's no sign of any slip at all. There's very little cavitation I can feel. It just goes round and carries on. And it also feels immensely strong. It's difficult to say how much of that is the quality of the ride of the hull, how much is the rigid construction, or indeed how much is this new Danu composite material they've been using. But I don't think there's any doubt that whatever it is, the end result is pretty impressive.